Okay, let's play some damn chess. Move, you slant-eyed slut from China, Japan, and the Orient. I mean, the Orient, North Korea. You Oriental prostitute. Slut. Come on, you whoremonger. Come on, you whoremonger from China. Come on, you whoremonger. Get that whore out of here, you slut. Ah! God damn it. Ah! Ah! Eh. Eh. Now fuck up and move right here. Kiss that whore goodbye. That whore, that whore, that whore, that whore. I fucked his hole. That whore, that whore, that whore, that whore. That whore, 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 that whore. She's a whore. You snot-eyed slut from China. Damn, I fucked his butt. I just did your like cutting off your right ear. God damn it. God fucking damn it. God fucking damn it. God fuck it. God fucking damn it. God fuck it. God fuck it. God fuck it. God fuck it. God, 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 fuck it. Suck my motherfucking slut, you goddamn bitch. God, fuck it. Come on, you slut. Come on, you whore. God damn it. God, fuck it. God fucking damn it. God, fuck it. He's bringing out that whore. Come on, you whoremonger. Fucking whore. Stupid! I just unpercented the fuck out of you. Suck my dick, bitch. Oh! Yeah, he realized he fucked up big time. Come on, you slut. Come on, you slant-eyed whore from China. God damn it. God fucking damn it. Suck my motherfucking slut. Suck my slut. Suck my slut. Why are those pieces going bye-bye, slut? Come on, you slant-eyed whore from China. Yeah, I'm making you bring out your fucking poems. You fucking bitch. Shit. Stupid! God damn it. Stupid! Come on, you slant-eyed whore from China! Oh, it's my turn. Yeah, fuck up and take that damn poem, you slut. Ah! Ah! Come on, you slant-eyed whore. Cuz that was stupid. Pure stupid. Stupid, 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 stupid. Stupid. Stupid, you stupid bitch. Stupid. Kiss that bishop goodbye. I didn't say bishop, I said bishop. God damn it, why the fuck did I do that? God damn it. Cause you just fucked up. I'm fixing to give myself another whore. Cause you just fucked up big time. You fucked up. Cause, listen, you fucked up. That whore, that whore, that whore, that whore. Now it's time to start dicking up some poems. I'm going to ask up your poems. Eh. Goddamn night. Spit, 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 spit. Ah! What are these fucking poems? I fucked his hole! Now fuck up and move that poem on here. So you can fuck up. Damn, I fucked his butt. Come on, you butt fucker. Come on, you stupid fucker. Come on, you slant-eyed slut from China, Japan, and the Orient. I mean, the Horient. You Oriental prostitute. Fucking prostitute from China. Suck my slut. Suck my motherfucking slut. Just suck my slut. Stupid! Cause you got the short end of that dick. Stupid fucker. I'm getting into your business! I'm getting into your business. You slant-eyed whore from China. Now fuck up and... Cause you stupid fucker. March! Ah! Man, I'm fucking you up. You stupid. Stupid! Ah! Oh! What a stupid bitch. You stupid fucker. Where's the goddamn sound? God damn it. Suck my motherfucking slut. Suck my slut. Suck my motherfucking slut. Stupid! How in the hell did you get a 1600 rating? I mean, that's fucking stupid. God damn it. God damn it. I can just get rid of that goddamn knight. No. God damn it. God fucking damn it. Damn. Ah! It is time to dick up some pones. Ah! You dumbass. Ah! No, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get him in the white man's shit, mate. I fucked his hole. I fucked his 1600 rating hole. Damn! I stuck my dick in his butt and twisted until my dick came out of his fucking mouth, puking cum. Damn! I stuck my dick in his butt. I ran that damn thing up there, and it came out of his fucking mouth, puking cum. You slut. He's bringing out that whore. Stupid! Cause that was stupid. Maybe the hell not. Okay, let's swap whores. You want to swap whores? Come on, let's swap whores. Come on, you whore. Damn, I fucked that rated 1600 guy up with like the butt. And then the white man's checkmate too. Translation, I didn't need no fucking queen. I didn't need no fucking whore. Goddamn slant-eyed slut. Come on, you whore. Whoops! You better look out for that bitch. I'm coming for that damn bitch shit. I didn't say bishop. I said bitch shit. B-I-S-H-I-T, you slut. Oh, I see. You are not gonna ear my rook. You are not gonna cut off my left ear. You whore. God damn it. God fucking damn it. God damn it. God fucking damn it. God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. Come on, you goddamn motherfucker. God damn it. God damn it, you stupid fucking bitch. Now you're gonna lose that goddamn night. Goddamn motherfucker. You goddamn motherfucker. Goddamn motherfucker. Suck my dick. Suck my motherfucking dick and slut and cunt. Move! Move! Well, I'll put your goddamn black ass for stalling even if you are white. You goddamn black ass. You goddamn black ass fucker, Mrs. Bitch ass fucker slut. Come on, you whore. Whoops! Ah! You're trying to Janet has Uzi on me. Come on, you stupid bitch. God, that was fucking stupid. I'm accounting him not moving that, so I'm gonna move that dam. Hopefully, I can take up that dam. God damn it. God fucking damn it. God damn it. God damn it. God fucking damn it. God damn you. God damn you. God damn it. God damn you. God fucking damn it. Come on, you slant-eyed slut. God damn you. You damn slant-eyed slut. Suck my slut.
Dr. McDonald, this topic is extremely sensitive to me. I wondered if I would go to hell. I believed in it. I really believed this was a place where God would torture people, or they would, depending on my time and my theology, they did it to themselves or God intentionally did it.
God damn it.
Just depended on when you were finding Derek Lambert, where he was at the moment,
God
trying to understand
damn
his
it.
Bible. I read a book by Mary Kay Baxter, who had a vision.
Oh, I know that
cunt.
cunt.
And Jesus came and took her on a tour, literally, through hell. Hell is in the shape of a human body, so you enter it through the jaw, through the mouth, and you go in.
I've heard that. I've heard of that cunt. Mary Kay
melting the
Baxter.
flesh off and it comes back on. And the level of detail that she wrote was so artistic and gruesome, I could see it. I was a young teen. And I couldn't sleep good at night thinking about it after reading that book for a while. And all the people right now that were burning, all this stuff in my head. It was really dark and deep. And my mom, I love her so much. And I want her to know she's scared. She's a Christian. She's honestly terrified about hell when she goes to think about it. She says, I'm not worthy. So I hope in today's educational video, we dispel the notion this is true in any literal sense and understand where it comes from a scholarship yourself. So there's my intro. I just had to get it off my chest.
Derek, I love this topic.
I see a dick in your future. I see a dick. Dick.
On the history of
you better move that component or I'm going to put your ass on the chest.
So I have a lot of material, and I don't know if we're going to
You
go
whore
through
from
it
China!
I doubt if we will, and I'm going to start with two jokes. One about heaven and one about hell, and the other about
Come on, you whore from China.
literary playfulness
Come on, you
towards the
whore.
hell in antiquity. The first has to do with heaven. Jesus
Come on,
is
you
aware
whore.
that Peter got a short straw
You whore.
in the drawing about who's going to allow people into heaven. Because everybody else is, flying
If I could
around
just-
with the angels, playing
That
cards,
would be a
enjoying
checkmate
the
right
streets
here.
of gold. And there Peter is, day after day, talking to millions of people, trying
I
to
just shit my
determine whether
pants.
they belong in heaven or in hell. So Jesus comes to Peter and he said, "Hey, Mr. Rock,
I just shit
I
my
want to
pants.
give you some relief.
Come on, you
It's about
slut.
time for you to enjoy the delights of heaven yourself.
Come on, you
And so I
whoremonger.
want you to tell me what I can do to spell
Come on,
you
you whoremonger.
so that you can enjoy the angels." And
Come on,
Peter
you
said,
slut
"Lord, I
that
am
slut
so
from China,
grateful
Japan, and
that
the
I am
Orient.
so
I mean, the
tired of
Orient.
doing this.
Maybe North Korea, you North Korean whore.
People to help
You
not have
Oriental
a job.
prostitute.
So I'm going to give you the short form. You just ask people where they're from, what they did
You
as an
slut.
occupation, what are their virtues and vices, and then
Come
make
on,
a
you slut.
judgment about whether
I'm
they
gonna put your
belong or
goddamn
not.
black ass for stolen.
But Jesus says, I think I can handle that.
God fucking
So
damn
Peter
it.
went off
God,
and
God,
started flying
fuck
around
it.
with the angels and eating ambrosia and all
God
that.
fuck it.
And Jesus was really pretty good for several days
God
in
fuck
doing
it.
short form, getting people determined whether they're in heaven or hell.
God fuck it.
And there was an old man that came up, and Jesus said, "Old man, where are you from?"
God
He said, "Well,
fuck
I'm
it.
from a little village in the Mediterranean basin."
God fuck it.
Jesus said, "Oh, that's fine. And what was your occupation?" He said, "Well, I was a carpenter."
God fuck it.
Oh, Jesus says, "Oh, that's very interesting. You're a carpenter. And then tell me about your virtues and vices." He said, "Well, my life was not that interesting, but I had a son who was known for telling the truth." And Jesus said, "Father?" And the old man said, "Pinocchio?" Okay, so that's
God
the story.
fuck it.
The
God
whole
fuck
story is
it.
this. A Lutheran pastor dies. A good Lutheran. And he goes to hell. And he tells the devil, "Hey, there must be a mistake. I'm a Lutheran pastor." And the devil said, we did install a new computer system, and there have been some glitches and some data problems. So you're welcome to stay down here and look around. We won't put you through bad tortures.
God,
we really have to verify whether it's
Holy Ghost.
So the devil thanked, the Lutheran pastor thanked the devil. And he walked around and he saw three guys talking to each other, dressed very differently. And so he came up to them and was just going to chat. And one of them was wearing a Roman toga and looked quite Jewish. Had a beard and his eyebrows met. And so he said, excuse me, you look like the Apostle Paul that I've seen on icons. And he said, Ego me Paulus. And he said, you're the Apostle Paul? He said, yeah. And so he then noticed that there was another man in a Roman toga holding a codex and very wise looking. And he said, the pastor said to him, you look like images that I've seen of St. Augustine. And he said, Ego sum Augustinus. He said, you're St. Augustine? What are they?
What the hell are you doing here?
Damn!
And then he saw a corpulent man in a Cossack and holding a leather Bible.
And he said, you really look like what we Lutherans cherish as a vision.
Oh!
And he said, Ich
bin Luther.
He
He
said,
said, you a Luther?
He said,
Hey guys, what's going on?
So
So
here
I
I
have
have
Paul,
I have Augustine, and I have Luther in hell. And Paul said, it was works after all. Okay. Now, nobody knows what happens after death. And the only physically, the only scientific thing we can say is
You stupid bitch.
consciousness after death. Or if you have believed some with the near-death experience business, the mind still may have images and expectations of delights, usually delights or torments. So I don't know how to judge that. I'm not a scientist. But nobody knows what happens after death. So every story, like my jokes about heaven and hell, is a design. Now, what is the function of tours of hell? It is to encourage people to
Oh!
kinds of ethical.
Damn, I got no business!
So the story of Jesus and Lazarus.
I got all up in the...
That's
the message.
Now that's the
of
way to win a game of
the
chess.
story of Lazarus and the rich man.
With both sides
It's
having
not
most of their
that there's a
pieces
real
intact.
hell.
That's a
in the
white
story,
man's
it's
game of chess.
necessary to say that this is the problem if you don't care
I stuck my
for
dick in his
the
poor
poor.
butt.
So it
So
No, I
there's
didn't.
an
I didn't even
ethical
take his score.
punch.
And maybe the author, Luke, thought
that
that there was a hell. I wouldn't be surprised because you have, at this point, a hell or Hades in Judaism, where in early Judaism you didn't. So where does this stuff come from? And it probably comes even from pre-Homeric poetry, where you have visits to the netherworld. And in the Odyssey, Book 11, you have Odysseus going to the netherworld to consult a prophet named Tiresias about how to get home. And when he's there, he sees a number of his companions, including Achilles. And he says, Achilles, how wonderful it is that here you are in Hades and you're the king of all the dead because of your heroism. And Achilles says, excuse me, I I would rather be a slave on earth to a poor man than to be king of all the dead. It stinks down here. And then you have not only that, but you have the torments of Tantalus, who were tantalizing. He can never get relief from his thirst or his hunger. Even though the water comes up to his chin, he can't drink it. Even there's fruit just within reach, but it's outside of reach, he can't do it. And so you have, but there is a heaven, the Elysian fields, but that's only for those who are the children of the deities or their loved ones, like Menelaus, who married Helen, and so on. So that's what you have in the Odyssey. Now, Socrates comes along, according to Plato, and says, those are really no good stories to tell children if you want them to go and be brave in battle. Because Achilles, the best of all of the warriors among the Greeks, and in Greek mythology, would rather be a slave. So that means that the people who are conscripted to go into the military are going to try to get out of it. Right? Because why would they want to die? So Plato's solution is to have his own tour of hell, which includes both punishments for the wicked, but also a glorification for others, especially through reincarnation. So the wicked are punished, and so that those things need to be avoided. But also there are catalogs of what is righteous, and so you have rewards. And Plato uses a myth
now buck up and take that
bishop who dies. He visits the netherworld. He is allowed to come back to be the messenger of the gods to mortals.
Nice.
Tells them about the torments of the wicked and the rewards of the righteous. And in fact, in the end, those who are totally righteous can be in the firmament. This is in the last book of the Republic. And there's another one in Gorgias, which is somewhat similar. But we know for sure that Plato expects his readers to know it's all fiction. This is not historical stuff. It's crafted in order to create a mythology that encourages nobility in battle, which the stories did not. Virgil comes along, and in the Aeneas in Book 6 goes to the netherworld to consult with his
dead father. See that dick hanging out of his mouth?
And there he sees
that's my dick. That's my dick. And that's his butt.
But also the rewards of those like his father were noble. And the point is for the reader to understand that from Hades you get information about the Roman dynasty that goes from Aeneas to Augustus, and it's going to be noble, building an empire from without end. So it really is quite a positive thing. Now Lucian comes along and he says all of that is bullshit. There is no hell. There is no Elysian fields. And in his satires, he has people go to the netherworld. And Menelaus, who is a kind of he's a cynic, and he's a poor man. And he goes and he sees Tantalus being tormented, and he sees other rich people being tormented. And the whole point is to stick it to the wealthy in the Roman Empire and to say, go ahead and abuse your family, abuse others, and pile up wealth, and this is where you're going to go, and this is what you're going to suffer. But it's a satire, and everybody knows that it's a satire. And he also goes to the Elysian fields and sees people still making love and having feasts, and the Homer is all over the place. They read Homer and enjoy him and so on.
If I may comment real quick, just
a quick comment is
sounds like Plato had a huge influence. Number one, preceding Aeneas, Lucian, Christianity, you name it. We also have way back in Egyptian lore, the Book of the Dead or the Living, depending on them. And in there, you have the Lake of Fire. You have this little pool of lava type fire. But the imagination is pretty interesting. So to be clear, just for anyone who's watching, what you're suggesting is Plato wrote this fiction, and he knew that other philosophers would have understood this as fiction. That this is not literally the case. And maybe that's his original intention. The question kind of becomes, how did people start taking this literal? The uneducated started to grab it, and was it formulated by elites to kind of dupe the general common people who aren't philosophers? Because philosophers don't need, it seems, in their own mind, we don't need to be threatened with fire in order to live noble lives, to be honorary people and be decent folks. This is something maybe the common folk might need in order to behave properly because they're not intellectuals. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there so that you want to go into that.
Yeah, I don't think, Eric, and I'll tell you why. These are not the only kinds of myths that philosophers, including Plato, have. They use myth as a kind of argument for themselves. So it's not that Plato would have thought that such a thing existed. He rather articulates it because it's this kind of vision as opposed to the one.
I see a dick in your future. I see a dick.
So surely other philosophers are going to have other understandings of the netherworld that may solve the same problem. But they know that they're doing philosophy and mythology. And this is an important point. We think that philosophy is different from mythology. But for the Greeks, you craft your theology largely through a mythology. It is the way for you to make sense of the world in a pre-scientific time. And then with Aristotle and Greek science and so on, things change somewhat. But these are... They know these are fictions. No, they're not trying to dupe anybody. They're not trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes. Now, did people read these stories and think they were true and so on? They probably did. But that's not what it was intended.
I fucked his hole! Yo, you want to swap pores? Okay, come on, let's swap pores. Let's swap pores. Come on, let's swap pores. Fucking whoremonger. God damn it.
Dr. Robin Faith Walsh, I really appreciate your time to do these lectures and to take this interview and discuss a little bit about what these lectures are on. And the one we're talking about with the Gospels, you go into the genre and who were these authors, which you've got to get the lectures so you can check it out. But there are a lot of apologists that will say stuff like, yeah, this fits biographical literature. And they've read other stuff and they see biographical literature. But it almost seems like to their audience, when they hear that, it's like, well, this must be like accurate historical biographical information that's literally going to tell you exactly what Jesus did or said. And so when we get into that fanciful miraculous, it just fits in with, well, this guy was a Jew who was born in Nazareth, who, may have visited the temple and maybe was really crucified by the Romans, all of this stuff. So the mundane to the miraculous becomes kind of like, this is accurate factual information. As a scholar, just by the way I painted that, I want you to speak from your mind, your heart, what do you think when I say that? I don't care where you go with this.
It's a really great question because it comes down to something I present in my lectures, which is we have to be very deliberate about the questions we want these texts to answer, and we're asking these texts versus what they are offering us, what questions they, the original authors, the writers, are trying to answer. One thing we have to keep in mind in the ancient world, biography, even history, is not the same way it is today. Today we have more tools and greater communication and different standards, so that something to be historically true or biographically true, we expect there to be actual verifiable fact, right? Think about how media works. If something's in a newspaper, you need to have multiple sources confirming information before it's ever put out into the world. That's not the world of the first century. In the first century, there was an awareness, I think, that you couldn't, obviously Google an answer to something to confirm, say, a date of when somebody was really emperor even, or down to, like you're saying, I like that idea of mundane, like really precise information about like who was governor of Syria in 4 BC. You couldn't do that easily in the ancient world. Communication wasn't quite the same, documentation wasn't the same, literacy wasn't the same. So being aware of that, authors were more concerned with giving you an impression of what someone was like in their estimation, or kind of a sense of what would it be like this guy. So an example that I like to give is Plutarch. He does a life of Alexander the Great, who was supposed to be this great warrior, sort of the pinnacle of like masculinity and an ideal human being from the perspective of the Roman Empire, really the ancient Mediterranean world. He goes into a lot of detail about how did Alexander smell? Why was he such a drunk? Why did he drink so much beer? Essentially, but he tries to give you this impression of what was it like to hang out with this guy. Not the minute detail of every single battle he was ever in or every war he ever won, but more what is the general sense of what this person was like. That's what they're trying to do too. They give you some detail about, say, let's just think about Matthew and Luke, about Jesus' infancy. But they actually contradict each other, because the point wasn't exactly what happened there, but kind of giving you an impression of what happened. With the Synoptic Gospels, you could have the same exact story told 3 times, but with little tweaks and twists and turns to them. I think we mentioned in the lectures that Luke has a whole shipwreck nobody else has. But that's because they're each trying to give you a different impression of who this character Jesus is. And the objective is really to give a sense of character, not biography, because you have to kind of take the author's word for it, but there is again an awareness in the ancient world that somebody isn't going to be really fact-checking you. So you do things like encode eyewitnesses into the text as an author to tell you, like, don't take my word for it, there's an eyewitness that tells you the same thing, right? So you see those strategies, those are strategies of authors to get across biography, the life of somebody, without having to get bogged down in what is the exact history.
So when you hear within the literature of the Gospels, or any other literature, someone has an eyewitness that saw, for example, Julius Caesar, here's common, right? So there seems to be natural phenomena that they are trying to say there's evidence of an apotheosis, or being celestially divinized, or however you want to put it. But then there are other accounts where there are eyewitnesses who saw this, or they pay people to say certain things. Do you bat an eye when you hear things like the Gospel saying there are eyewitnesses to this, or this eyewitness saw that? Or like, do you go, ooh, this one might be real? What happens in your head when you see that versus maybe someone like me 12 years ago who's like, there were real eyewitnesses?
It's really difficult, right? Because something like the preface to Luke, where he says, I've read everything I can get my hands on, and I've talked to people, and he kind of says like he talked to people who talk to people, but there are eyewitnesses to the word, and so I'm trying to write that down too. Strategy for approaching the text in terms of like he's trying to get you to realize like he's confirmed his sources to some extent, right? But also then I wonder, who are those people who are claiming they were eyewitnesses? Like how do you know that that's true, or eyewitnesses of eyewitnesses, right? That's where you start to play that game of historical telephone. So when I read something like that, I'm automatically a little bit dubious on multiple registers, if you see what I mean. It gives me an idea that there are people maybe running around making that claim, but then from the level of literary authorship, authors are going to always claim that, right? Because they want you to read their work. So they're always going to say, we see this with someone like Herodotus, right? He'll be like, we know there was a volcano somewhere. And so I talked to people who saw the volcano, now I'll tell you what they report. So this is not unique, right? It's not unique to the Gospels. Again, it gives you a little idea of maybe process, but I also know from other quote-unquote historians that that's just what you say. And then for authors like, say, Mark, who doesn't claim to be a historian, actually his text is very esoteric, the point seems to be confused, not to be told anything concrete, those eyewitnesses become a literary strategy. You put the eyewitnesses in the text because you just said something crazy. You just said something that, Jesus has performed some kind of wonder, some kind of miracle, that other people who are not, initiated into this Christ cult may read this and go, he did what? And so if you quote an eyewitness, it's a rhetorical strategy to say, like, there were people there, like, listen to this. And it's sort of there as like a carrot to draw you in. So it's hard to say what to make of eyewitnesses. We want to think that means it's verifiable fact. We just have too many examples in the ancient world of people making really radical claims and taking the same kind of position. In paradoxography, it's all over the place. I'm thinking of Phlegon, who says that I think there's a centaur that he says he's talked to people who have seen that the centaur was like embalmed and is somewhere in like the imperial household. So he claims that eyewitnesses have seen a centaur, right? So it doesn't have to just be sort of like plausible things. You use the idea of an eyewitness for even, very extraordinary claims. So we have to be very careful with how we understand that.
He could have unpersonated the fuck out of me, but he did it! He failed miserably. Unpersonated the fuck out of me.
Without further ado, here is Zygarde, everybody.
Slut.
Thank you. Before I start, I just wanted to give a survey. How many people here have PhDs in biochemistry?
I just ended your rook.
Great, so I can say anything I want. That's perfect. Very good. Okay. God does not exist. There's no such thing as God. It's impossible. It could not be a God. That's what I was brought up to believe. I came from a militantly atheistic family, going back 3 generations. And that's what I thought for most of my early life, in fact, all of my early life. And yet here I am. speaking to an apologetics conference as a and how did I get from that starting place to where I am now is a very long story, and I discuss it in this book. I think some of it, I think it's available outside. It's also available everywhere else. And I'm not going to talk about that very much today, except for one part of it, which is that science, particularly the science that I was doing and studying, was a large part of my starting on my faith journey. And I'm going to talk today about one part of that,
God fucking damn it,
which is what I know best, which is the biochemistry of life and how it relates to the origin of life. Now, what's interesting is that sometimes I call myself a biologist, sometimes I call myself a chemist. That's the great thing about biochemistry. You can do either one, or pretend to. And sometimes I have often found, in just my own anecdotal experience, that biologists are really strongly atheistic. And I thought that was just my own imagination, but in fact, this slide shows that among the fellows of the Royal Society, 68% of physicists consider themselves as atheists, whereas 89% of biologists do. It's a real difference. And that seems strange on first glance, because we heard from Luke Barnes yesterday that there's so much design in nature and in the universe, the galaxies, but especially in life. And in fact, here's some photos of examples of design: the beautiful flowers, the incredible speed of a cheetah, various fish, one bird here. I didn't include a hummingbird, but that's Luke's specialty, so I'll leave that. And of course, the most important example of design are us, human beings. And here I have the best example of human design. This happens to be my wife. And since she's not here, I have no problem showing this.
I touched her.
When I'd shown it when she was there, she got upset at me. But anyway. Even Daniel Dennett, the very famous atheist, says biology, the biosphere, is utterly saturated with design. Richard Dawkins, you heard this, I think, from Luke, has talked about design in life, design in biology. And of course, what he says is it's the appearance of design. So we'll get into that. So the question is, if there's so much design in life, if it's so obvious and so universal, how could it be the biologists are so ungodly? Why don't they make the connection? There's so much design. And the answer is very simple: evolution. And of course, it was also Dawkins who said that evolution allowed atheists to be intellectually fulfilled, or something like that. Because it allows, according to him, it allows people to become atheists, because with evolution they have an explanation for all these things in life that seem to be metaphysical before evolution. So what we have now is a question about what is the source of all this design in biology. And as I said, the first one up there is evolution, and that's what almost all biologists will tell you, and many other people. What we see as design is simply the result of natural selection, with no purpose other than survival and reproduction. The elimination of purpose from biology is a key tenet in modern biological philosophy.
God damn it.
Of course, there's also a view, and of course you all know about intelligent design, that these complex designs could not have resulted from blind random chance and were deliberately designed by an unknown intelligent agent. And very similar to that, but going a little further, is the idea of a divine being. Life's design requires far more than mere intelligence. This is my own idea. I haven't found the quote for it.
Damn it.
They are indicative of a divine agent, God, who used evolution as one of his tools for creation to some extent. So let's go into this in a little bit more detail. Now, you've already seen this. Luke Barnes presented it. It's something that almost all scientists who are Christians, don't like. The universe that we observe has precisely the properties you should expect if there is at bottom no design, no purpose, no evil, no good, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference.
God damn it.
Very pleasant quote. So we're left with this idea that life is designed without a designer. And here's another quote from Dawkins. And here's where he says that it's an illusion of deliberate design. It looks like design, but that's an illusion. And some people go further and look at some of the specifics of life. For example, DNA and the genetic code. In 2017, Stephen Woodford, Rationality Rules, made a video in which he said that DNA code is not a code because it isn't interpreted by anything. It's a set of rules and instructions that follow the physical laws of nature. That sounds very nice, but I have to caution you that Stephen Woodford is not a scientist, and he's certainly not a biologist. And in that video, he makes a lot of basic scientific errors. But I'll get back to this a little later. So now let's ask this really important question. Is it true that evolution is really atheistic? If you hold to evolution, does that mean you are an atheist? Actually, the answer is no. Evolution has nothing to do with any kind of metaphysical or philosophical or spiritual issue. It's a biological scientific theory, and it only relates to the biology that we know, starting with the last universal common ancestor, Luca, and I believe ending just before the origin of humanity. Evolution deals with the diversity of life, and this is very important, but cannot contribute to the origin of life, and that is universally recognized from Darwin to Dawkins and everyone else. Darwin did not talk about the origin of life. He had a brief paragraph speculating what might have happened because he had no idea, and we still have no idea. You've heard this from some of the great work that James Tour has done, that this idea that we're close to getting understanding the origin of life is simply untrue. And I also like to say that evolution not only doesn't explain the origin of life, it really doesn't say very much about us. There are ideas, stories that float around about consciousness, creativity, love, everything that makes us human. But those are just stories. There's no evidence behind any of them, and there's no mechanism, there's no scientific mechanism by which biological evolution can produce somebody who composed Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It just doesn't make sense. Well, let's look at evolution a little more carefully, and we'll see why this is a real problem. When you ask almost everybody, and it's very common, what is evolution all about? They'll tell you it's based on two things. The first is genetic variation. So mutations in the DNA and changes in the DNA. And that genetic variation is translated into phenotypic variation. And the phenotype just means everything about an organism. Okay, so your height is your phenotype. So are all the chemical reactions that go into your body. And the other thing it depends on is natural selection, which is how good is that phenotype in helping you survive and helping your offspring survive. And speaking of offspring, there's actually a third critical component of evolution that's almost never mentioned, but it's just as important as these two. And that is accurate inheritance of of the phenotypes of future generations, and this is what I'm going to be focusing quite a bit on. If you have a mutation that improves your fitness, okay, let's say that I get a mutation that makes me incredibly strong and brilliant and everything else, that's nice for me, but if I don't pass it on to my offspring, there's no natural selection. Because natural selection happens over time. Time being many generations.
God.
And in fact, Darwin said this. And look at the underlined lines. And from the strong principle of inheritance. Now, of course, Darwin had no idea what that was, but he knew there was a strong principle of inheritance. These will tend to produce offspring similarly characterized. In other words, accurate replication, accurate self-replication. Now that strong inheritance, well, I just said that, requires accurate self-replication. Now what do I mean by self-replication? Well, let's take a look first at this illustration of the reason that you need accurate inheritance in order to get evolution. Let's say we have a population of giraffes on the left of different heights. The taller ones, especially if the environment becomes difficult to find food, the taller ones will survive better than the shorter ones, and after many generations, the shorter ones will die out, the taller ones will be better able to adapt and to find food, and they will become dominant in the population. That is natural selection at work, very simply. But that assumes that tall giraffe, I keep calling them elephants, I don't know why. That very tall giraffe passes on its traits, its phenotypic traits, which come from some genetic event, to all of its offspring. And those offspring pass it on too. And if you don't have that, if you have inaccurate genetic inheritance, you get tall giraffes, and you also get short giraffes, the original short giraffes. Because the tall giraffe may not be able to pass on that trait to its offspring. And that means no evolution.
God
So,
damn it.
let's get back to this idea of accurate replication in a little more detail. And if you think about it, accurate self-replication is a property solely of life. In fact, it's a property solely of living cells. Nothing in the non-biological world is capable of
God, I think you done
self-replication.
fucked up.
That sounds extreme, but let's take a look. Let's say you see a house that you really like, and you want to build a replica of it, because you want the same house. You can do that. You could hire a contractor, a few contractors, and you could replicate everything about the house, the walls, the ceilings, the electrical system, the plumbing system. And let's say you like the house so much that you even like what's inside it. The furniture, the books, the paintings, everything that's in the house. So you want to get a complete, accurate replica of every part of this house. Again, it's possible to do that. But one thing you can never do is find a house that will replicate itself. Okay, now people talk about self-replicating factories, they talk about self-replicating robots. So far we don't have them. They may be theoretically possible, but they also may not be. Because one of the things you have to do if you were a house that was self-replicating is you'd have to find all the materials you need and bring them in so you could use them.
Alright, sucker, you fell for that like a second. Tons of
On the other hand, when we look at biological reproduction, this is a cell.
Damn, I fucked your butt.
We find that the replication, this is a cell that has divided in two, is incredibly accurate.
Damn!
It's accurate to 99.9999%. What that means, all the contents of the cell are accurately replicated. how does that happen? I mean, we're talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands of enzyme and protein molecules, membranes, organelles, so many constituents in the cell, millions times more than what you have in a house. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is this incredibly high level of accuracy in biological self-replication. It couldn't have just occurred. And in the breakout session, I'm going to talk about in much more detail about why it couldn't have occurred spontaneously. I'm going to talk about the actual way that this happens using the genetic code and protein synthesis and several other biochemical systems. And normally, when we look at something really complex in biology, what we say is, well, it evolved over time. But you can't have evolution without this self-replication. Okay, as I just said, accurate self-replication is required for evolution. So evolution cannot be required for accurate self-replication. And so what we end up with is a circular reasoning fallacy. And here are the two statements I just made. Both, the chicken needs the egg and the egg needs the chicken. And this is absolutely true in this particular case. Now, one part of this, I'm going to talk a little bit about only one part here, which is the coded information in DNA. Again, I will expand on this in the breakout. And that is related to the genetic code, which really is code. This is a genetic code. You can find it easily. What you see are letters, T, C, A, and G. They stand for the 4 nucleotides in DNA.
God
Again, this will be expanded on in the breakout.
damn, I fucked up.
And you see every possible set of these 4 letters, and since they're grouped in groups of 3, there are 64 possibilities.
You fucked my butt.
And most of them code for specific amino acids, which are the other 3 letters in bold. The genetic code is an example of abstract symbolic information. Now, if anyone feels faint at seeing this chemistry on here, just take a deep breath, look away. It'll be over soon. I'm not going to have any more of this, but I can't resist. What you see on the left is a codon. It's, again, more detail later. It's a tiny section of DNA, and it is 3 bases, one after the other. The one on the top in orange is adenine, and then the green is cytosine, and the yellow is thymidine. And that codon, that little 3-base sequence of the DNA means something. It means put this molecule, which is threonine, it's an amino acid, put that threonine next, wherever the right position is, in the protein that you're making. Now, there's no connection between threonine and this codon. There's no chemical connection between them. So that's why this is abstract symbolic information. It's very much like the word tree, whether it's spoken or written, has no connection to the actual plant. Okay? We use it because that's what language is. Language is abstract symbolic information. Now here's 2 quotes from the 2 main standard textbooks in molecular biology that's used in every graduate school. Lewin in Genes says, the genetic code is deciphered by a complex apparatus that interprets the nucleic acid sequence. Notice the word interprets. You may remember that Stephen Woodford denies that anything is interpreted incorrectly. In the Molecular Biology to Cell by Alberts et al., the conversion of the information in the messenger RNA represents a translation of the information into another language that uses quite different symbols. Now, I've actually met Bruce Alberts. He is not at all a theist, I can testify. And I don't know about Lewin, but generally, this is not controversial in the world of science.
God fucking.
I still don't know where this crazy idea that the genetic code is not a real code came from, but I'm trying to find out. So what natural processes produce abstract symbolic information? None. Symbolic, all the abstract symbolic information we know of is ours, okay? And, I mean, we are natural beings, but other than that, nothing else produces this kind of information. Now, I talked a little bit about the genetic code, but there are many complex biochemical processes that are required for accurate inheritance, for accurate self-replication. One is the replication of the DNA. One is the protein synthesis, according to the genetic code, and I will, in the breakout, I have some animated videos that kind of, I think will be impressive. There are error correction systems all over the place. In DNA, in protein synthesis, there's a huge amount of error correction. And genes are regulated. But none of these complex biochemical systems, all of which have to be in place in order for evolution to work, we don't know the origins of any of them. The first cell that we understand, which is Luca, the last universal common ancestor, has all of these systems already in place, and we don't know where they came from. So we don't. It doesn't really matter about evolution. It's not an important argument because evolution is not relevant to any of this. So you can hold to evolution, you can deny evolution. It doesn't matter. The argument for God from biology has to do with origins. The origins of biology, the origin of evolution, in fact. So, if it's true that evolution cannot account for the design of the earliest life, what can? Well, what's generally proposed is a different kind of evolution, not Darwinian evolution, not natural selection, but something called chemical evolution. And I have to tell you, just before this meeting started, I actually met with James Tour outside, and we talked about this. And he confirmed what I thought is that chemical evolution is a very recent term that doesn't have much of a meaning. What it really relates to is that things can happen because simply due to chemical properties of various molecules, their stability, their whether they get hydrolyzed, whether they interact with other compounds or not. It's very, very weak. And there are many people studying this, but they're not getting very far. It could be a lucky accident. That's out of the question. Nobody believes that. Nobody even suggests it. It could have come from outer space, which doesn't answer anything because it came from Mars. How did Mars get it or wherever?
Go ahead.
And the most common answer is we don't know, but we'll find out someday. I call that future science of the gaps. How many times have you heard an atheist say, well, we don't know, but science has always answered all questions and it'll answer that one also.
I will dick you up good fast.
And finally, the one I believe is that there is a divine designer. I don't use intelligent design because this is way beyond intelligence. None of us could do what God did in creating these biochemical systems. So I would say that if life began as a series of complex chemical reactions that, quote, eventually evolved into a living cell, and you hear that all the time, that statement is simply fallacious. It can't happen for reasons that I discussed. So the origin of life must involve something in addition to natural chemical reactions in order to allow for the origin of evolution. I would like to propose, and I will again expand on this also in the breakout, that Perhaps one of those somethings, there may be many, is the idea of teleology, purpose. Is there any evidence of teleology in biological evolution? Interestingly enough, many biologists, including non-theists, like Dennis Noble, who's a very famous biologist, is coming to that conclusion. I'll read these two quotes. Organisms and population of organisms do have identifiable and testable goals. The targeting of variation and the preservation of existing functionality ensure that evolution is not entirely blind. And that last sentence I will unpack again in the breakout. And then quoting this other character, the solution to the problem of converting nucleic acid chemistry into protein chemistry may be the fundamental root of inherent teleology in living organisms. So, here's a redesign of that credo. The design of life, this is what I believe, comes from a designer, a coder, a reasoner. And so I would like to redo Dawkins' credo and say that this is what's true. The universe that we observe has precisely the properties, including life, that we should expect if there is at bottom a grand design, a purpose, such as the existence of life that can worship its creator, good and evil, and all that is needed to justify belief in the presence of God. Thank you.
I'm dicking up your poem.
John. I may have finished too early. Cameron, are you here? Okay. I told you it wouldn't go too long. Yeah. See, Cameron was worried because I had so many slides, but what he didn't realize is that scientists go very fast over slides, unlike philosophers.
Okay, so we're going to do some questions, and let's go ahead and begin. If you've got a question for Cy, raise your hand, I'll come around to you. Do make sure that it's one sentence long. I'll be holding the microphone. Okay, I saw a hand over here, but I'll come back over here first.
Oh, by the way, I should say thank you for getting up so early today. I didn't expect anyone here.
Great talk, Cy. My question is, you said earlier there was accurate inheritance is an issue, but you do believe that evolution kind of created what we see. So how if accurate inheritance doesn't really happen, then how do we get what we see? Or maybe I missed a piece of that.
No, you're absolutely right. It's a little bit like the Big Bang. We can't go back before the Big Bang and figure out what happened scientifically. Okay, we don't know. There's no way to know. Luca is like the Big Bang. From Luca, where you have all of these complex systems, evolution is possible. And evolution can, theoretically, produce everything else that we see. I would say with the exception of some human qualities, but it certainly can produce, bacteria, single-celled organisms, etc., through time, through evolution, through natural selection. But we can't go back before that and say what was before Luca because we don't have evolution before Luca. We can't, because it doesn't have those systems.
Okay. Over here, Cy.
Right.
This side to your right. There you go.
Dr. Gart, you explained that, natural selection and mutation change organisms. That's changes to structures that are already there. And change organisms. That's changes to structures that are already there. And mutation change organisms. That's changes to structures that are already there. But why should I accept the idea that those processes can build structures from the ground up?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and many people, as you know, is that Rebecca? I can't quite. Okay. Many people have questioned that, and there's some good reasons to question that, especially in certain circumstances. I would say that in some cases it's fairly clear what happened. There are some very complex mutations that do give, you can trace the mutation, you can find out what the phenotypic consequence is, and it is an improvement or a building up of stuff. But that's not always the case. So it's still a work in progress, basically. There are still new ideas about evolution that are always coming out. And the interesting thing to me is that many of those new ideas, it actually has a name called the extended evolutionary synthesis. Many of the ideas in there, I feel,
fucking damn it,
point towards a theistic answer, one way or the other. When I propose teleology be brought back into biology, teleology is very much related to the idea of whose purpose is it? Okay, it's God's purpose. So I am hoping that as we progress scientifically, that we will find more and more scientific answers, like Dennis Noble. He's not a theist. That just as happened in physics when people said, well, the universe had a beginning. Okay, and a lot of atheists didn't like that. But it's true. And I think we're at the point in biology where the more truth we find, the more we're going to find pointers to God. And your question raises an area where that may very well be true.
So I've got a question about how evolution is supposed to work. As I understand it, when there's two animals that produce a living organism that can breed and produce again, so a fertile offspring, and then
damn, I fucked this whole
from one species to the next species, crossbreeding cannot produce a fertile offspring.
Right.
So a species jump would be producing a fertile offspring that can breed and reproduce in the next species over.
Yeah.
So I should think even in fruit flies, have we ever seen a single species jump?
Actually, we've seen jumps, but rarely in species, because the way evolution actually works is you don't go from one species to a different one. What you end up is with one species that, in most cases, has two or three populations that separate from each other, so they can't interbreed anymore. So, for example, the common ancestor of lions and tigers was something else. It wasn't a lion, it wasn't a tiger, it was some other kind of cat. And that cat ended up in two populations, which then slowly accumulated microevolutionary changes, so that lions started looking very different than tigers. Now, I should say, by the way, this model is accepted by Genesis. Okay, they have a great model for microevolution, and the only difference between creationists at Genesis and evolutionary creationists is that what we say is that microevolution is actually what happens all the time. But if you keep going, you end up with what looks like macroevolution. You never have, I once debated Kent Holden, and he said, a pineapple can't turn into a oak tree.
My dick, bitch.
And I said, right. And, not only that, a goat cannot turn into a sheep. Goats only produce goats, etc. But some goats are different than other goats. And if you separate the populations, eventually some goat may start looking like some other species. So, that's sort of a general overview of evolution. And I have a whole video called What Evolution Is Not, because a lot of folks mistake what it's actually saying. But that was a very good question. Thank you.
I see a question all the way in the back. So I'm going to head back there.
Come on, you slut.
Bear with me. So how some people would think about genetic mutation is that there's an organism and their genetic code is the way it is, and then the mutation.
Let me just stop you right there for 1 second, if I may.
Yeah.
There's a big confusion between the word genetic code and the genetic sequence. We all have the same genetic code. We, oak trees, bacteria, fish, there's only one genetic code. But we all have different sequences, and that's what makes us different. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for the clarification. So how people might think of it is there's the sequence, and then there's some malformity in the sequence as a result of the mutation. So one might think that the result of that mutation is that there's a deficiency within the next organism.
Right.
So then you might think that organism may not have as much of a potential for survival based on that mutation. So I was wondering, I think there's different mutations, so I was wondering if you could clear that thinking up.
Yeah, so the vast majority of mutations are not good for you. You're suffering a mutation right now as we speak somewhere in your body. And probably it's neutral. It's not going to have any effect. If it's not neutral, it's probably not very good, and so that cell will die. In very, very rare cases, it's really bad and can cause, for example, a tumor. But it's true that the vast majority of mutations are not beneficial. However, if you do the math, you can find out that even if you have 1 in a million mutations, which are good, which are beneficial, that will eventually spread through the population. So there's no dispute about the idea that most mutations are harmful. But this is not computer code. I know a lot of software folks say this. They say, well, if I randomly change a piece of software, the program dies. Yeah, but that ain't life. Sorry. Life is different. And if you randomly change, a base in the DNA, the program doesn't die. The cell might die, but the organism may not. Will not. So a very, very rare beneficial mutation can in fact spread.
Hi. I've worked with Dr. Chor, and so thank you for meeting with him. That was really cool to hear that. So I'm from IT. I'm from the IT world. You're speaking about software, so all of this kind of rings home with me. Engineers in the IT world, with intent, we create what's called data risk management. So we want to protect against data loss. One example would be RAID 1, which is a redundant array of independent disks where you have 2 hard drives. So if one of the drives fails, you can still operate.
Right.
It's not necessary for the function of the code, but it's necessary for something else for data risk management.
Right.
We have that same thing with DNA and its double helix. So what is the origin of the data risk management characteristics that we find?
That is a fantastic question, and we don't know. Okay. It's possible that evolution has something to do with it, but there are some reasons, just as I said for many other things, that's a little bit of a stretch. But the amount of redundancy and error correction and all the things that you're familiar with that exist in biology is astounding. Redundancy in particular it's a whole field of research. And sometimes it seems clear that this was useful to the cells or maybe evolved, but sometimes that's not the case. And we don't really know the origins. Thanks for that, because that's something I didn't include.
All right, so we've got about another 5 minutes or so, but I wanted to let everyone know we're about to, after this, we're going to do breakouts. I'm trying to flip this over. On your handout that you got,
God damn.
Hey guys, welcome to Capturing Christianity. I am Cameron Bertuzzi, and I am here today with Dr. Cy Gart. Welcome to the show. You've been on the channel before.
I have.
Yeah, so here you're today with us in person. I'm so excited to meet you. Wish I could see your wife, but I'm sure that she's here. She's here in spirit, isn't she?
I miss her too.
Yeah. Well, so today we're talking about your journey from atheism all the way to Christianity, and there's a whole lot that's happened in between. Back when you were an atheist and now that you're a Christian. We'll talk about all the steps that kind of led there, some of the science, because your background is in, biochemistry. And so your background as a scientist, but that's actually what led you to embrace God's existence and then eventually to become a Christian. So let's start at the very beginning. Tell me about your upbringing. I know we've talked about this on the channel before, but let's kind of go through it a little bit more in some more detail.
Sure. Well, I won't go into too much because, as you said, we have covered it, and it's in my book, so people can find it. But I grew up in basically in a family, 3 generations of atheists. They were not only atheists, they were very left-wing. My parents were members of the American Communist Party in the 1930s, which is rare. And so their atheism was very strong, very militant, and that's what I grew up with. I assumed that there could not be any such thing as God, or possible for there to be a God. Totally materialistic. My father was a chemist, scientist, so that was the worldview I grew up in.
Damn it.
And also the same worldview I had when I went to college, where I started studying chemistry. Chip off the old block. And, when you're a chemistry major, you also have to learn some physics. So I was learning things about quantum mechanics and things in physics that seemed a little strange to me, but I didn't really worry about it too much. And then eventually I decided I really wanted to study life. And rather than be a biologist, I wanted to study the chemistry of life. So I went into biochemistry where I got my PhD. And what happened was that even in college, as a young man, I began to feel there was something missing in my life. And I later realized it was some sense of spirituality, which I think is very important for all people. But I found that, whatever that you want to call that, in science at first. I was thinking, well, science is great because it gives you a real sense of purpose, a real sense of doing something good in the world, and it's true, so it's great. But there was one catch, which was that what I was learning in science didn't jive with the materialistic worldview. And I couldn't have said it that way. I just felt it. For example, in graduate school, I learned about the process by which proteins are made in cells. And that's a very complex process that involves a tremendous amount of biomolecules interacting with each other, and the complexity is just incredible. And I remember feeling like a chill going down my spine. It was like, this is amazing. How did this get here? And it was something that I couldn't answer. Later, of course, like most biologists, I just came up with the answer, which is evolution. Evolution does everything. But when at that time, I kind of left things as it was and as they were, and I just started wondering about really whether science was really the only way to find any truth. And I pretty soon I rejected that, as many people have. I was not yet ready to believe in God, and
I need to dig up all these
it required me to kind of break down my resistance to the idea, which I was born with. It's kind of hard to reject all of that. But eventually I did. And then,
were there any external factors that were helping to open you up?
Yes,
to God?
Absolutely. I was brought to a church by a friend.
And this was still when you were an atheist?
Oh, yeah. And I was, well, maybe by then I was a little agnostic. I wasn't really sure.
So you got to the point of agnostic all on your own?
That was all on my own, and that was due to the science I was learning. Because the science I was learning did not support a strict atheism. It did not support strict materialism.
Okay.
And that comes from quantum theory, and it comes from the observer effect and all sorts of things in physics, but it also came from what I was learning in biochemistry and how life works.
Right.
It just seemed that saying evolution explains everything in life was too glib. It was too easy. It didn't seem to me to be enough.
That's interesting because I've heard a lot of scientists, even like Peter Atkins, will say that God is like a lazy explanation. And you're saying that evolution is kind of like a lazy explanation?
Well, at that time, I would have said God was a lazy explanation too. I had no idea what the explanation was. I didn't really know what God was. I didn't understand very much about God. But yeah, I think evolution can explain a lot. But there are some key things that it cannot explain, and that includes the origin of life. And that's not my view. That's a very Darwin said the same thing. Richard Dawkins has said the same thing.
Yeah.
The process of evolution that we call Darwinian evolution or biological evolution doesn't deal with the origin of life at all. So, and I'll get into that a little more, I think. But the external factors that helped me were, as I said, going to a church for the first time and seeing something that I absolutely didn't expect. I thought that when you walked into a church, the first thing that would happen is the priest or the pastor would start yelling at you, telling you that you're sinful and you're going to go to hell.
Where did you get that impression from?
Well, that's the impression I got growing up.
From who did? Well, maybe it was a different time. But
it was a different time, but it was also. By the way, it's not over yet. I mean, you still find atheists talking about, the horrors of Christianity and how people are doing nothing but casting you into hell all the time, and lakes of fire and sin, and I felt very nervous, and it was a
and your experience was nothing like that.
No, it was a Catholic church run by Franciscans, and the priest gave a sermon about love. Love, period. Not, love God, but just love each other. Love. And I thought, this is very mild. Why, I think I've been lied to. So at that point, I looked into this a little more. I wasn't a theist yet, but I started looking at the Bible for the first time. The Old Testament left me a little cold. I couldn't really get into it, didn't understand it much. But I read the book of Matthew, and I read the book of Acts, and I found those very moving. The book of Acts struck me as actual history, and I was sure that this was not something anyone made up. It just didn't fit. So that got me thinking, and then I learned more and more. And as I talk about it in my book, I'm not going to go into detail now. I had several experiences, including some dreams and an awakening experience that I had to attribute to the Holy Spirit. And at that point, after many years, by the way, I'm compressing 2 decades into this discussion. But at that point, I realized that Christianity is true, and Christ was real, and He lived and died and rose. And I became a Christian.
Yeah, I want to focus in on one part of your story, but I also want to make a kind of general comment about. So sometimes I see atheists say like, okay, now it's just like this one. That is the reason why he became a Christian, and usually they pinpoint some like bad thing that happened, or this is a bad reason to become a Christian. But in your case, and I think in a lot of cases, probably the vast majority of cases, that it's a multiplicity of different things that all together builds up over many years. You said you're compressing in a story in 5 minutes something that happened to you over the course of 20 years.
Right.
And so obviously you're leaving things out, and you can't actually get the sense of like all of these things building up and leading to this huge paradigm shift in your thinking, in your worldview. But that's just the point that I wanted to make. Is that there's a whole lot of things going on in your story, and they all work together. Like it started out, from atheism to agnosticism, based purely on the science, and then you have these other experiences, and everything kind of played together
lead you to Christ. So that's one point I want to make. And then the second point was to bring us back to focus on one area that really got you considering leaving atheism. And I understand, is it abiogenesis? That's one of the main things. So tell me more about that. How did that, looking into that, really bring you more toward Christianity, toward theism?
Well, it's interesting because abiogenesis is a very active field of research, and people are looking at it very intensely in various ways. I've done a little bit myself. But
have you published?
Yes, I have one paper published and one that's just about to be approved, both on the same subject, which is, which I'll get to in a second. But as I mentioned, abiogenesis, nobody thinks that it has anything to do with, standard evolution. The general idea among scientists, anyway, and the atheist ideas, we're not scientists, are not worth discussing. But the general scientific idea is that life began through what's called chemical evolution. And chemical evolution is very different from biological evolution because there's no natural selection. And there's no replication.
There's no mutations.
Yeah, what chemical evolution is when you take chemicals, you put them together, and they either react or they somehow are able to do things only on the basis of chemistry, without any mutation, without any replication, and without any natural selection. And that's pretty hard to do. Jim Tour, who's in this neighborhood, has often said quite strongly and correctly that people who say that we've solved so many problems in abiogenesis, we're almost there, are just wrong. He says it a little more strongly than I do.
I was listening to something with him the other day.
But he's
so forceful.
Yeah, he's forceful, but he's right. And I know why he gets frustrated sometimes, because he is a chemist, a very good chemist, and he knows more than anyone. That's not how chemistry works. Chemistry, doesn't do things for any reason. Life does things because of natural selection, perhaps, or because of the way life works. And you can get evolution, but you can't get it started. And I started thinking about this years ago, especially related to one of my interests, which is how the DNA works by coding the existence of proteins which cause life. And Stephen Meyer has written about this, His Interest of the Cell, and he has in his recent book, The Return of the God Hypothesis, he talks a little bit about it as well. But I was focusing on one specific aspect which is critical to the origin of life, to the origin of evolution. And that is the accuracy of self-replication. Because nothing in the universe self-replicates accurately other than living cells. No chemical self-replicates. No machine self-replicates. Crystals don't self-replicate. Even DNA doesn't self-replicate. But a living cell can make copies of itself that are 99.9999% accurate. That's astonishing. How does that happen? It involves a tremendous number of really complex things, including the genetic code, including ribosomes and DNA replication and protein synthesis, things that are just too complicated to describe without slides.
Stupid!
Without a semester of biology.
I just your rook with my rook.
So if you have to have self-replication in order to have evolution, how do you get all this? How does self-replication get there?
Yeah.
It couldn't have evolved because there's no evolution. And that's what I've been studying and what I published on recently. The fact that, in fact, as I assumed, using various models that I'm not going to get into, that there are thresholds. And if you don't start out with a cell that already is pretty good at accurate self-replication, you can't do it.
God, fucking
You'll never get living cells, and you'll never get evolution going. And as I said, that's been published in a theoretical journal.
Okay, so you've got to get the cell first in order to get it up and going and get evolution. But then to get to that point, to get to the first cell, you need just too many things. Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, you need too many things that are too difficult to explain through only chemical evolution. So what
is the current scientific consensus? Is that what's the current scientific consensus about biogenesis?
It depends who you talk to. If you talk to people who are not working in the field, many of them will say, "Oh yeah, we're getting there. We've made a lot of progress. We know that amino acids, were in meteors, so they probably, developed, formed in the primeval Earth. We know that nucleotides can make long polymers with RNA." Yeah, that's all true. But the people who are actually the leaders in this field, know the details, and the details are exactly what Jim Tour says. It doesn't happen. You don't get long polymers. You get short polymers. You don't get self-replication. You get annealing. You get junk rather than good stuff. That's what they do. And frankly, I think many of them are getting it looks like not a lot of progress has been made. In fact,
ZyUCH, there's a dick hanging out.
And the numbers of problems.
Hey, ZyUCH, there's a dick hanging out. Hey, ZyUCH, there's a dick hanging out.
So the alternative that you arrived at was what?
Well, so I don't know. I didn't know what I thought there was something missing.
Okay, last game: win, lose, draw, glitch, or bend.
This was how this affected my journey to faith. Was that it broke and helped break down this absolute certainty that everything is explainable by materialistic science.
Okay.
But I didn't know what the answer was.
Right.
Once I became a believer and I started thinking, well, God is the creator of the universe, but I also said, not just the universe, he's also the creator of life and the creator of human beings, all of which are not explainable by any other means. So, but how? See, that's my question. Because knowing that God did something, to me, is not enough. I want to know a little more details. I don't know if anyone can ever learn that or understand that, because we don't know how God works.
Kiss that bishop goodbye, slut.
But I want to keep looking at it, and I want to keep, investigating various hypotheses. I don't think we should stop doing scientific research on the issue. But I think we need to be open. And it may be that biology is at the same place that physics was before Einstein came up with relativity. They were kind of stuck. Mm-hmm. They had solved everything except this nasty thing called light, which nobody could understand.
God.
And when Einstein solved light through relativity, it changed physics forever. And it turned out physics was nowhere near complete. And now we're in a position where, we have a huge amount of more knowledge, which makes the physical picture of the universe totally different than we originally thought. And I think biology is in exactly the same place right now. We need to expand our tools. We need to include new concepts into our studies of biology.
Dr. Robin Faith Walsh, I really appreciate your time to do these lectures and to take this interview, discuss a little bit about what these lectures are on. And the one we're talking about with the Gospels, you go into the genre and who were these authors, which you've got to get the lectures so you can check it out. But there are a lot of apologists that will say stuff like, yeah, this fits biographical literature.
and they've read other stuff and they see biographical literature. But it almost seems like to their audience, when they hear that, it's like, well, this must be like accurate historical biographical information that's literally going to tell you exactly what Jesus did.
I don't want to hear that, bitch.
We discuss God, God's origins. We talk about all sorts of stuff here on Myth Vision pertaining to being a very human development on Myth Vision. And I've noticed that a lot of people are curious about the origins of Yahweh. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of like question marks. We just don't know too much.
Just read your Bible.
Exactly.
Look in Exodus chapter 3, and it makes it very clear who Yahweh is and where he comes from.
I mean, at least from the perspective of that source. Yeah, of course. Right? And that's truly a divine source, so I should just take it at face value. As far as some of the elements we find about the characteristics that Yahweh has, he's like a storm deity. He has some attributes you find in other common ancient Near Eastern deities. I remember reading God and Anatomy right here, actually. I love there's certain attributes, I think I might even turn to the page here. Let's see if it's there and saved. But in this was hinted here. Long story short, the goddess Inanna traveled from her temple to Uruk to Nippur in the hope of arousing Enlil. Feigning my father feigns, lying down, she cried, may I soothe his heart, may I pacify his liver, may I direct my words to his distressed heart. Sitting on his lap, she sings him awake with the refrain, oh, sleepy one, how long will you sleep? Inanna's lament was considered so powerful that her cult singers recited it in the temple at Uruk on the seventh day of each month. Don't know why I stopped to emphasize that. In the hope of appeasing the gods for an unknown misdemeanor which might prompt untimely or simulated slumber. Precautionary measures were only sensible to discern the difference between a sleeping god and a soaking god was not always easy. Many centuries later, in the 6th century BCE, Yahweh's worshippers were singing petitions to awaken him to the devastating aftermath of the Babylonian attack. Rouse yourself. Why do you sleep, O Yahweh? Awake. Do not cast us off forever. And that's God sleeping, which might be a common thing in the ancient world. I find the seventh day thing kind of interesting as well.
I wonder why that ever come up in Pat's debate. It has to be consecutive. Continuous. It can't be interrupted by intercalendar days.
Yeah. We gotta put certain rules to say how it's so unique. But my point is, like, there's lots of attributes. You can go to the Baal cycle and you find Baal is the storm deity, who's a warrior god.
I think, I mean, the point, maybe the point to start here is that within the text of the Bible that we have, Yahweh just has all the attributes. But this is looking back from this post destruction, this post Babylonian perspective, where the people who wrote and collected these texts have now, in some respects, been internationalized. They've been exposed to like new ideas and these perspectives.
Thank God. I hate those.
But one of the very difficult things in trying to understand who Yahweh is, like getting underneath all that. You know, how do we mine these texts to get back to where Yahweh came from? I mean, unless you're going to accept that he showed up in a burning bush in Exodus chapter 3 and introduced himself not as Yahweh, but as Ehyeh. But yeah, it's really, really complicated. So, you know, he's a storm god. It seems in the early texts he's similar, I think, to what we read of Baal in the Ugaritic text. And this is where scholars have tended to go in their appraisals, their evaluations of who Yahweh was, where he came from. But there's so much that we just don't.
I see a dick in
I think
your
it's important to be
picture.
able to distinguish between as Kip was pointing out, like looking at how the Hebrew Bible tries to work through later conceptions, maybe rework texts and traditions in order to bring this into alignment. And what happened early Israelite religion. So when you have Yahweh with his consort, like this is a real thing, right? And one of the things that I do think is important to point out is these types of later understandings and polemics that we find in the Hebrew Bible that play off of Babylonian mythology, certainly Druidic ideas of mythology. So, for example, looking at how Genesis 1 interacts with the Enuma Elish and concepts that you find in there. And not only is it important to recognize that it is dependent upon interacting with
and the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it.
For those that may not know, is a text that comes from
and the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it.
And Babylonian history, the New Babylonian Empire, it becomes or was the center of the Akitu festival, and it was every New Year's this thing that was recited in some ways, like acted out. But it was a focus. And if you look at how the text of Genesis 1 interacts with the Enuma Elish, it does so in such a way that it demythologizes this battle with the sea concept, where in Enuma Elish, Marduk is coming at Tiamat, who is overpowered and is terrifying the gods, and takes Tiamat down, creates the world through her dead carcass. Whereas we do see the actual battle in places like Psalm 104 and other places in the Psalms. Here in Genesis 1, it's demythologized to the point that it's just, Tiamat isn't even really mentioned with this sort of this specific reference to Tiamat, but instead it uses the word Tahon, which is found in many creation context and battle with the sea context, but it's playing off of this Semitic word Tamtu for the sea, which is what Tiamat comes from. So again, it's all sort of the creatures that we find that are created by Tiamat, that she and her consort Kingu are standing beside and fighting with. They're demythologized now. The Tanimim are just these little things that Yahweh plays with in the sea, or Yahweh plays with in the sea. Not quite that, but there are these things that just, it's not that Marduk's, wind has to confront Tiamat in the face to, fill her up so he can destroy her. Instead, the spirit of the wind of Elohim just broods over the sea, right? And so, at any rate, come on, but I feel like it's important to recognize that in passages like Genesis 1, as we get to talk about Deuteronomy 32, Psalm 82. These are texts that are engaging with the tradition that ancient Israelite or early Israelite religion had, but doing so in a way that brings it into alignment without sort of just completely supplanting it, which allows us to sort of peer back behind the cloak and to see what's actually back there.
Probing into Yahweh's dad, El, who's really Yahweh. Right? What if I asked you to flip the question on the origins of Yahweh to the origins of El? Do we have a better idea of the origins of El than we do on the origins of Yahweh, or are you not really so sure on that one either?
Yeah, I think El is difficult because it's primarily seen in the Druidic pantheon. And while we have lots of texts from Rosh Hashanah and ancient Ugarit, they're really coming from essentially one time period, right, in the 14th, 13th century. And so, I don't know that we have this, not that I know of, have this long tradition where we can go back, because Canaanite mythology, I think, is going to have some connections, obviously, with like Mesopotamia, the Mesopotamian pantheon, but it's going to also be distinct from it. And I don't know. Somebody like Mark Smith obviously would be a great resource to get at that. But of course, you know, Ale is the head of the pantheon, has 7 sons, and so like this is where Baal and Anat and like these figures sort of fall underneath, but creates this very interesting dynamic that we see in places like Enuma Elish, the same sort of thing where you have a younger deity who's somehow supplanting, being allowed to, or not allowed, but like is elected to rule over them, but yet still not diminishing the senior deities. It's a very interesting dynamic in the pantheon.
You guys just want to sin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can tell.
Just hang on, I gotta suppress the truth and unrighteousness.
Okay. So since you suppress the truth and unrighteousness, we can tell them like you guys just made all that up, and really, what really is going on is like there are no real other gods, and like there's only one, and it's El Yahweh, which is the same guy. Well, same God. So pretty much what we're looking at is, if we want to understand, I guess to ask you both as experts who are looking at the world in a bigger picture, not just zeroing in on the Bible, how much can we learn? This is a very generic question, but how much can we learn by reading around the Bible about the God, the attributes, the religion, the practice? Like, I ask this because as a fundamentalist that I was, I still am, don't tell anybody, because they can't hear that. But as a fundamentalist, I read my Bible because I practically worshiped the book. And as I started reading outside of my Bible, learning about stories like Romulus, we talked about last night at dinner, or different things, I started getting fascinated. Like, whoa, there's other people who got ascended in clouds well before Jesus, and like cool things like that. So what would you say about that generic question, and go wherever you want with your suppression of the righteousness of God? So
it kind of raises. I got into a discussion, disagreement with a guy on Twitter some months ago, and this is sort of he wanted to take this perspective of the biblical text where
now let me get pissed.
Have all this surrounding Eastern literature, and it's useful. Insofar as we can see how the Bible is teasing out the same ideas and some of the same turns of phrases and the language and stuff helps us understand the text of the Bible, but still had very much this perspective that the Bible's a special book. So anywhere where it looks like, where it looks like what's going on in these ancient Near Eastern texts, you can go to this point and say, yeah, it's just using the language and stuff, but still maintaining this perspective of the text that it's somehow unique, right? And I think, like, I responded at one point to this guy where I was like, you can't learn about what's inside the Bible without actually taking a look at what's going on around it. I mean, it just ends up becoming this circular exercise of using the Bible to interpret the Bible. It's such a closed circle that ever come to learn anything or to see anything that might be there, right? It's the other literature is super, super important because it helps us to contextualize this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess the comparison I would make is I always go back to music. So there's a difference between, like, if you, see if I can do this, like if you turn on Kenny Chesney and listen to some songs, and then you listen to like Trace Adkins, or some other country singer. I can't really do it too well here, picking up country music.
I'm not sure who they are. Can you sing to us?
Elvira. No, okay, that's something different. But, so the views just like dropped instantly. But no, like you could say that listening to somebody who's singing country music, you have a similar genre, or you have the same genre, right? And the songs can kind of sound the same, and you have similar turns of phrase like "my dog died" or "my truck won't start," but sorry, that wasn't fair. But that doesn't mean that Trace Adkins is pulling from or something Kenny Chesney, right? It's just because they're pulling from sort of stock phraseology, part of the genre. Okay, so that's one type of. It's not dependent necessarily upon one song upon another, but upon the stock phraseology of the genre. Okay. However, if you go, and I always use him, but if you go to somebody like Eminem, and you have Eminem, who is the song About You, I think is what it's called. Yeah, I can't remember. I love you because you remind me of me. That's what you remind me. And it's clearly not just pulling from stock, rap phraseology or something, but it's utilizing Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll, right? And so there's no way to truly understand what Eminem is doing. It can be an enjoyable song to listen to if you don't know Joan Jett. You can understand it on a certain level, but if you're trying to get deep into what it is that he's doing with reworking and polemicizing and whatever, you have to be able to understand that it's pulling from and reworking Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll. And so these are the two different ways, and there's a spectrum, of course, that ancient texts work with one another and against one another and in light of one another. And so if what apologists want to try to do when it comes to the Bible is to try to go toward the Kenny Chesney, Trace Adkins, and it's just a stock phraseology, you just have engineers from motifs and themes. Yeah, that's true. That does happen a lot, right? Because they're all writing from the same world, right? In the same types of mindsets. But that doesn't mean that you can then say it all functions that way, right? And you do have polemics. You do have intentional reworking. You do have the Psalm 68, where the writer of the clouds is now no longer Baal, but it's Yahweh, right? So I think you have to be able to come at it from both perspectives.
This is a really demonic thing you just said, so I love it. And so, being funny, Michael Jones does that, which you're describing a lot, and he's a big fan of trying to do that. And what I find ironic about that kind of conclusion is it's kind of a sophisticated one. It's a clever one. Most fundamentalists will try to just deny, like not even accept that it's happening. And this happened to me with him in the New Testament. So outside of your specialty, but nonetheless you're aware of this kind of material. And I want to bring up a highlighted point when we're talking about Greek and Roman legends and myths and you name it, playing a role into the New Testament. He does the same thing he does when he was conversating with you guys on Genesis, where, it's just phraseology used in the air, they're in the ancient Near East that probably conquered by Assyrian and Babylon. Like how silly, you guys are trying to make a genetic connection, good luck. And if you try to make linguistic genetic connections, well, I'll just shut those down and ignore them or deny them, even if there's three birds that fly off and there's common, tropes, or even the lie thing you brought up with the, we're going to get into so many different things in your courses. By the way, your course also covers a lot of the ancient Israelite stuff, so both of you have courses. Both of you have YouTube channels. You have books. You'll eventually, I'm sure, be putting out some more book stuff for people. But that was a little shame.
You just gotta stop watching The Chosen.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're gonna have some tainted literature that you're gonna put out. And watch when we're reading the book he talks about, and then the Romans went on and they scrubbed the Hebrew letters from the walls of the. So just making the point, I bring up like antecedents to the Romulus thing I brought up with Jesus' ascension, and it was kind of a funny, like, we got real comfortable, I think, so he just kind of said what he felt like saying, well, what would you expect God to do? I mean, if I was God, he said, like, or alien or something, aliens and gods got mixed into this, but like, I would come down, and if people already believed in these kind of myths and legends, I would make my character fit within the same trope of it. And Derek Bennett jokingly goes, so the God of the universe couldn't do something different establish something so radically new and different. I thought it was funny how Derek Bennett kind of played that. Yeah. But he does this where he will say, in a sophisticated way, in case we really do get a gotcha kind of thing, well, so what? What would you expect? They got to relate it. They got to use the language. They've got to somehow relate it to their people. That doesn't deny that Jesus didn't actually float up into a cloud.
Right.
This is sort of the apology. 10 minutes later. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course, you know, like we all friends. Like I love Michael Jones. He's really nice.
Yeah.
We all get along really well.
We're jabbing at Michael.
Yeah. But you know, like this.
Fuck it.
This is something that is. I think it happens of necessity, right? Because if you're starting with the conclusion that somehow, in some way, this has to be the word of God. Right? And it has to be an inspired word of God. It has to be true. Whatever it is, however it is, we're going to ultimately understand this. It has to relay the truth. It has to relay God's message. I think that what ends up happening is in the same way that in Exodus 12:37, when it talks about 600,000 fighting men, and you end up going, wait a minute, like New Kingdom Egypt only has like 3 million people. You can't have everybody leaving Egypt.
You fucked up.
Then you either have to say the text got it wrong, right? Maybe this isn't
you just fucked up and lost the damn bitch.
Or you have to say, maybe it means something else, or maybe we've been mistranslating.
You stupid fucking slut.
And I think that what's driving the direction that you go is the thing that you're starting with, which is your conclusion.
Stupid fucker. You stupid bitch. You stupid bitch. He's bringing out that whore. Come on, you whore. You whore. All this hard as this to take a fucking bitch shit. I didn't say bitch shit, I said bitch shit. Yeah, that's, you want to swap whores? Very good, you slut. Come on, you slant-eyed whore. You slant-eyed whore. I'm looking at the ear, you rook. You better take that goddamn knife. Now it's been the ear, you rook. Fucking bitch. You fucking bitch. Fucking bitch. Fucking bitch. Fucking bitch. Come on, you cunt. Move, you flaming cunt. Move, you flaming fucking cunt. Move, you cunt. Come on, you cunt. Move! Move! Move, you cunt. I don't go out and make myself a goddamn sausage pancake stick because it's goddamn. Oh, there. Suck my dick, bitch. Now fuck up and move here so I can ear your rook. Cutting off for your right ear. Come on, fuck up. You suck my dick, bitch. You snot-eyed whore from China.
We don't have a consistent
Come on,
independent
whore.
narrative. What we have are independent narratives that contradict each other. That are all written 40, 50, 60 years later
I dick
by people living in a different part of the world who didn't know any eyewitnesses, who aren't even speaking the same language. I mean, so what do historians do?
I'm going to dick up another hole, you
like
slut.
They don't simply accept what they say because they happen to agree with their religious views. I am firmly convinced that Jesus never talked about himself as God. If you ask any Jew living in the first century, you think that person's the Messiah, you mean he's God? Say, what? What do you know? I said he's the Messiah. And so it's like claiming, if you claim to be, the prime minister, you're God. What? We don't have groups of people saying they saw Jesus. We have
You stupid fuck.
writers saying that groups of people saw him. That isn't the same thing.
Suck my dick.
Welcome to Within Reason. My name is Alex O'Connor, and I'm joined today by perhaps the world's most famous New Testament scholar, Dr. Bart Ehrman. Dr. Ehrman, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's a real pleasure to sit down with you. When thinking about what to spend this time talking about, I was a bit struck by the
Now
breadth of
fuck
your
up and
work,
move that
a little bit
night so I can
paralyzed in
dick
terms
up
of
that night.
choosing a conversation topic, but I think that the majority of my listeners will know you in the context of your critical scholarship and some of your debates that you've had with Christians about the nature of the New Testament and the nature of Jesus. So I wanted to begin by asking, in your view, the figure of Jesus, the most important figure in Christianity, and if Christianity is true, the most important figure in history, what can we know about Jesus of Nazareth?
Right. Okay. So, this is the soundbite, right? What can we know? So, this has been arguably the major problem, one of the major problems of the study of Christianity, not just the New Testament, ever. I mean, one of the first people
Come on, you
who
stupid fucker.
tried to start studying the New Testament from a critical point of view. In other words, not simply accepting it as an inspired word of God that is infallible, but started examining it from a critical perspective was Herman Samuel Ramirez. His book got published in the 1770s, but it had to do with who is Jesus really. And he ended up arguing that Jesus was a political insurgent who wanted to overthrow the Roman Empire. But this view is, reappeared over time. Reza Aslan has that view in his book Zealot. But it started the idea that, in fact, you can't just use these Gospels as saying it as it is. You've got to examine the Gospels to see where they're accurate, where they're inaccurate, how do you know what's historical. And so I would say that scholars have a huge range of opinions about this question. I would say that most scholars would agree, at least, most critical scholars would agree that Jesus, at least you could say, that Jesus was a Jewish preacher who came from Galilee, who was lower class, who started an itinerant ministry of some kind where he believed that he had come to understand the truth of God, and so he saw himself as some kind of prophet, and he believed that God's kingdom was soon to arrive on earth, and that people needed to repent in preparation for it, and that many of the other Jewish leaders didn't really understand what God wanted, but he did, and so his proclamation of ethics, about how to behave, I think are historical, many of them are historical, were intended to get people to turn their lives around so that they could be prepared to enter into this kingdom. He eventually made a trip to Jerusalem the last week of his life and got in trouble with the authorities, who had him arrested and then crucified under Pontius Pilate. So I think you can say that much, probably.
What about the sort of the moral message and the claims he made and the events that surround his life and the gospel narratives? How much of this can we say confidently is historical?
It's very difficult because scholars have different assessments. My assessment is that a lot of the materials we have in the Gospels these materials are put onto his lips by later storytellers. Many of them promote a later Christian agenda, which makes them a little bit suspicious. And so we have to develop criteria for knowing. What I would say about his ethical agenda is that, by and large, he accepted the kinds of views that you find in the Hebrew prophets of the Old Testament, especially authors like Amos and Isaiah, that God was far more concerned with ethical behavior and how you treat one another than he is with sacrificial ritual and other kinds of cultic practices. And so I think that basically, I think he probably did say that the two greatest commandments are you should love God with all your heart, soul, and strength, and you should love your neighbor as yourself. These are two quotations of Scripture, and that he emphasized that over anything else. But it wasn't for reasons that people today have ethical messages. I mean, most of us today want to be ethical either because possibly we want to be a good person, or we want society to work in the long haul. Jesus wasn't really concerned about those things so much. He certainly wasn't concerned about society for the long haul, because he didn't think there was going to be a long haul. He thought that God was going to intervene and destroy this current order and bring in a new order, a new kingdom of God. So he wasn't really concerned about how to get along that way. But he was concerned about how people could enter into this coming kingdom. And so the ethics are rooted in this apocalyptic message that the end is coming soon and you need to be ready for it.
That's something you've mentioned, I think, 3 times now, is Jesus' view that the world is about to end. Of course, at least in what we would consider to be the short term, it didn't.
Exactly, dig up that fucking bone.
What are you talking about when you say so confidently that one of the things we can really know about Jesus is that he believed in the coming apocalypse? And how do modern Christians react to the fact that didn't seem to occur?
Fucking bitch.
One thing scholars do is once they recognize that there are materials in the Gospels that don't actually go back to Jesus, they're long. We could have an hour-long discussion just about that one little single topic, but there are clearly things that don't go back to Jesus in the Gospels. There are contradictions in the Gospels. There are implausible statements. There are statements about things that, there are lots of reasons for thinking this. Once you have that down once you recognize that, then you have to develop criteria for how you decide what actually did happen and what didn't happen. This is true not just of Jesus, it's true of every figure from the past.
How do you go about establishing that somebody actually said and did what they're recorded saying? Doing if you have sources that are written decades later by people who didn't know the person and who have actually obviously changed things in places. So with that in mind, what you look for are materials that are found in multiple sources that are independent of each other. And one of the things that you find in all of our earliest sources about Jesus is that he's preaching about the coming kingdom of God. It's his first words that are recorded. In Mark chapter 1, verse 15, Jesus says, these are his earliest gospel, the first words he says, the time has been fulfilled, the kingdom of God is near, repent and believe the good news. So the time is fulfilled means that God has allotted a certain amount of time for this crazy world to run its course. But that the time is up, the time is fulfilled. So the kingdom of God is near means that God is going to wipe out what's now and bring in his kingdom, and so people need to repent and prepare for it. That basic message you get consistently in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and in what we reconstructed the sources of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. As time goes on, you get less and less of that perspective. So that the Gospel of John doesn't have that perspective. The Gospel of Thomas preaches against that perspective. So the reality is that the earliest sources are consistently portraying Jesus as proclaiming this message. Some of you standing here won't taste death before they see the kingdom has come in power. This generation will not pass away.
Come on, you slut.
So what do Christians do about that? Well, they reinterpret it. So he didn't really mean that. He meant something else. He meant maybe the church was going to come, or he meant that the Holy Spirit would come on the day of Pentecost, or he meant this, that, or the other thing, but he didn't mean what he actually said was said.
And what's going on there in your view? Is that just people sort of coping with the idea that this didn't come to fruition? Or do you think there is a sort of legitimate interpretation of these verses that makes such that Jesus didn't actually think the world was literally about to end?
I wouldn't say it's an illegitimate interpretation, because interpretation,
damn it,
depends what you're trying to do with an interpretation. If you want to know what Jesus really meant, that's one kind of interpretation. But you could also say, well, what does it mean for me today? That could be a different kind of interpretation that could be legitimate.
Come on, you bitch.
But if you want to know what Jesus meant, you have to put it in his own historical context. And when you do that, then it's pretty clear he's predicting that there's a coming end of the age. And this problem about what to do with it has been around as long as there have been Christians, because the earliest Christians expected it to come right away. The Apostle Paul thinks it's going to come right away. His followers thought it was all going to come right away. It didn't come right away. So what do? Well, what the early Christians did is started changing what he said, so that when you get to the Gospel of Thomas, he preaches against that message, that there's an imminent coming kingdom. But again, what people do then is they try and spiritualize it so that he's not saying something wrong. He's just, he's giving a spiritual message rather than a literal message.
When you when you turn this into a critique of the Christian message, and you say it seems here that we have Christ and his early followers predicting a near end of the world that didn't actually happen. As you say, people are able to interpret these verses differently. But do people that you put this criticism to at least accept that that is the most natural reading of the verse?
God fucking damn it.
It depends which person I'm talking to. And so I have, where I teach at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which is in the South, American South, and most of my students are highly religious.
God fucking damn
religious
it.
backgrounds, or at least they were raised religious. They're not necessarily now that they're at uni, but they, they try, they try to figure this out. And a lot of them just say, yeah, Jesus wasn't really saying that. But I have other people who are friends, who are academics, who are Christians, and who are New Testament scholars, but who are still committed Christians who are ordained ministers. And they'll say, yeah, that's what Jesus said. But, Jesus was human. Some of them will say, look, if you believe in the incarnation, which is part of the Christian doctrine, it means he really became a human. And if he really became a human, then he had human foibles, and he had human limitations.
God,
so he got things wrong. And so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just say, look, He got the calendar wrong, but he got the idea right. The idea is that we should be fighting against the forces of evil just as God is, and that eventually God's going to triumph.
Fucking
so,
damn it.
Okay, you got the calendar wrong. So some people aren't as bothered about that as others.
Now, of course, modern Christians think that Jesus made a slightly more radical claim.
Holy Ghost!
The world is going to end and certain moral teachings. They seem to suggest that he was also walking around claiming to be God.
Yes.
It's one question to ask whether Jesus was God.
Yes.
The question of whether Jesus claimed to be God, I find to be one of the most interesting in biblical scholarship, and I wondered what your views are on the matter.
Yeah, so I think it's right to differentiate between those two, because a lot of people don't. The question of whether Jesus was God, I agree, is completely independent of whether he ever said he was. It's also independent of whether he thought he was. But we have no access to his thoughts. We have access to some limited extent to his words. I am firmly convinced that Jesus never talked about himself as God. And one way to demonstrate that is to line up our sources of information about Jesus chronologically. And so I mentioned earlier that we have the first three Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. These are called the Synoptic Gospels because they agree in so many places in which stories they tell, the sequence of the stories, even word for word, verbatim agreements, that everybody pretty much agrees that there's some copying going on. Somebody's copying somebody.
God, the fucking holy.
Scholars who have worked on this since the 19th century have said that Matthew and Luke both had Mark as one of their sources. So you had Mark as a source. Matthew and Luke copied Mark, but Matthew and Luke have a number of sayings of Jesus not found in Mark. And so most scholars today continue to think that Matthew and Luke had access to some other written source of information that they call Q. Q is a group of Jesus sayings that Matthew and Luke had access to. Matthew has some materials not found in Mark or Luke, so they say, well, that came from some other sources, and Luke has some material not found in Mark and Luke, so that's other sources. Okay, so you have Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but you also have Q and M, Matthew's special sources, and L, Luke's special sources. If you look at all of that material, Matthew, Mark, Luke, Q, M, and L, okay, all of that together, Jesus never called himself God. All of our earliest sources, where Jesus starts calling himself God, is the Gospel of John, our last source. And so, to my thinking, you have these sources of information about Jesus. So I've just laid out six sources, 6 pieces of information versus 1. The 6 are all earlier than the 1. It seems to me completely implausible that 6 authors would describe the sayings of Jesus knowing that he called himself God and neglect to mention that part. Like, that bit just isn't important enough to bring up. And so I think it's completely implausible.
People might be surprised to hear you make this claim that in all the Synoptic Gospels, we don't get Jesus claiming to be God.
Yeah.
Is this not the case in any instance? Sort of Jesus imply that he's God at certain points?
Well, it depends how you read these passages. If you think...
What kind of passages are we talking about that people generally point to in the Synoptic Gospels, in the earlier sources, that say, well, Jesus seems to be implying he's God? Because, of course, people will want to say that, okay, maybe Jesus wasn't walking around saying that he was
God damn it.
But maybe doing so wouldn't have been a particularly great strategy.
God fucking damn it.
Maybe in order to have enough time to have his message understood by his early followers and to sort of conduct his ministry before eventually being killed, if he just immediately started claiming to be God, he would just be killed straight away. And so what he needs to do is get the message across, get the important moral teachings, which is the most important part of his ministry, and then allow future generations after he died to realize the truth.
Yeah, no, that would be a plausible way to argue. I'm not convinced by it. It's what I used to argue when I was an evangelical Christian, and so I'm familiar with it. You'd have to say that the Gospel of John's wrong then, because in the Gospel of John he does claim divinity early in the ministry and throughout the ministry. Second thing is, it'd be a mistake to say he was covering it up so that they wouldn't kill him any earlier, because he's actually not crucified for calling himself God. His divine claims have no relationship to any of the crucifixion narratives. And
And so it's not that that's going to get him in trouble.
So, I mean, what is it? What is the?
Oh, it's pretty clear when you read the trial narratives. Pontius Pilate kills him for claiming to be the king of the Jews, and that's a political claim. And so Pilate isn't concerned about Jewish theology. The term Messiah in most Jewish thinking at the time, and in certainly Roman understanding of Jewish thinking, is that the Messiah is the future anointed one, the King of Israel.
That's the literal meaning of the word Messiah.
Yeah, it's the name Christos is the Greek word, Mashiach is the Hebrew word. It's referring to the king who gets anointed during his coronation ceremony to show that he's the favored one of God.
Yeah, in the recent coronation of King Charles, it was chrism oil that was rubbed on his head and breast.
None of us knew that was going to happen because it's been over 50 years since we've seen any of this.
But so you have this interesting word origin of Christ, Messiah, just means anointed one, and of course this is I suppose Jews at the time would consider the anointed one to be something like an early king of Israel, so they envision this Messiah figure not as God.
No, not as God. The Messiah was not God.
But as a political leader. And this is perhaps where some people might stumble. And I remember when I first started considering the idea that Jesus maybe didn't even claim to be God, one of the things that I would think about is all of these times that he would refer to himself as the Messiah, the Son of Man, this kind of thing. And you forget that it's only today that we make these terms synonymous, but at the time the word Messiah, the term Son of Man, the term Son of God, and the term God are not sort of...
They're not the same thing.
Sitting next to each other in a...
But the problem is, I think historically, since all these titles get attributed to Jesus, that he's Messiah, Son of Man, Son of God, Lord, God, all these things, that they all then people just assume they all are different versions of the same thing. They are not different versions of the same thing. If you ask any Jew living in the first century, you think that person's the Messiah, you mean he's God?
Alright guys, who is Jesus and is there a reason to believe in him? Aaron Raw is joining me today on the show. If you don't know who he is, you will soon. Let me know if you guys have any guests that you're interested also in bringing to the table. Email me at mythvisionpodcast@gmail.com. I'll try and find these people.
I'm getting in your business! I'm getting in your business!
Get acquainted with their position and bring them on the show.
That's mine.
Ross takes into what I like to call a histomythicist position, and also delve into other stuff in the Old Testament or Hebrew Scriptures, showing a lot of interesting, strange things on how they believe. You guys don't want to miss this. I really enjoyed this show. The guy's scarier looking than he really is in person. He's actually a kind guy, and he's very gentleman. I even teased him from the start. So hope you guys like this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know what you guys think by writing a comment down below. Peace. We are Myth Vision. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Your host, Eric Lambert here. I've got an awesome show today from someone that I guess you could say is a lot like me. He's just got a better voice when it comes to vocalizing the way he thinks and what he says on his shows. If you guys aren't familiar with Aaron Raw, and you need to go over there, just go down in the description, hit that subscribe button, make sure you guys get acquainted with his stuff because he deals with a lot of fundamentalists. But he's also an activist in many other ways, too, so it's not just religious stuff that he's dealing with, but he finds that religious stuff, it weaves its way into society, into politics, etc., etc. So, Aaron, welcome to the show, brother.
It's pronounced Aaron.
Aaron? Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
That's all right, everybody gets it wrong.
You know, if you had a second... I'm sorry. Religious stuff, it weaves its way into society, into politics, etc., etc. So, Aaron, welcome to the show, brother.
It's pronounced Aaron.
Aaron? Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
That's all right, everybody gets it wrong.
You know, if you had a second A, I would just be like, Aaron. You remember that, the show, the guy's like, Aaron, he mispronounces everybody's name, so welcome, man, welcome.
Oh, thank you much.
I appreciate what you do. I really am a big fan of what you do. A lot of people look at you and they think you're a Satanist. What do you think of that?
I often say that I can't be a Satanist only because, one, I'm not young and sexy enough, and two, I can't afford the wardrobe.
Oh man!
Oh bullshit!
Those people got some style.
They really do. They really do. Years ago, when I was a fundamentalist, you actually were out on the scene, still communicating these things. You've been out for quite some time, and I saw you, and my fundamentalist self couldn't stand you. I did the same thing with Dr. Bob, Robert M. Price. I said, this guy, and he's debating William Lane Craig, and I was like, Craig won, yeah, and it's crazy how much one's mind can change when they actually start opening up their mind and stop being in a narrow box. I left the fundamentalist ideas. I started seeing parallels to paganism and other worldviews, and I said, at first, my deconstruction was God's bigger. God's bigger than just Jesus. And then it was like, hold on, Jesus and then all these other, well, it can't be just Jesus because he's predate him. And then I started saying, well, God's in all of it, right? Then I started deconstructing from there. It was a good gradual deconstruction. Some people have the aha and their whole life just crumbles. I had a gradual deconstruction. So that was thanks to guys like you who pointed out obvious things and were not afraid to say what you mean.
I appreciate that. When you said things about having an open mind, I'm in the same situation. And that once I very strongly advocated for the truth with a capital T, and my truth was still a lie. I thought it was true because I thought it was something that I could demonstrate, but I couldn't demonstrate. I was doing the neo-pagan spiritualism thing. I was doing like occult transcendental.
He's trying to
this is a direct first-hand experience of the supernatural, right? But what it actually is a direct first-hand experience of faith. And faith is the most auto-deceptive, most dishonest position as possible. If you believe things on faith, you are lying to yourself. Faith, the only thing in the universe that needs faith is liars and bad salesmen. But you really can convince yourself to see and hear and experience virtually anything you already want to believe. It's just a matter of ambiance. And that was the thing that actually broke me. The drum beat or whatever, or horror movie effects, whatever. I remember in one case there was this girl who was doing this kind of meditation, and I knew she's alone in this room doing this meditation. I move the door open, it opens very quietly, and I set a Buddha, a little Buddha, down on the floor. And I know she doesn't know what the fuck a Buddha is, and so she thinks it's a demon, and she thinks she's evoked a demon. And I realized that, wow, all I had to do was put in like drums and incense or whatever, and like you're on, and just like. See in your mind's eye. In other words, make shit up in your head. Right? That's what see in your mind's eye. What does it mean when you look at somebody's aura? Right? When you train yourself to look just beyond what your eyes can see. What does that phrase mean? It means make shit up and pretend to believe it. Lie to yourself. And sadly, at the time when I realized that I'm actually lying to other people. I think I'm bringing it, but if I can. If I can cause a Christian to see Jesus, and I can cause a Hindu to see Krishna, but I can't do the reverse. I can't make. If somebody's raised in India, I'm not going to make them see Jesus. That's just not going to happen, right? Guru Nanak, maybe, but not Jesus. Likewise, someone raised in American Christianity, I am not going to be able to get them to see, the Hindu God, any of them.
Krishna, none of them.
Yes, it's not like there's any one God. If there was one God that was true, damn thing goes off again. Every podcast.
It's okay. It's okay. It saw a spirit walk by, and it's like, I'm just teasing. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think.
What I'm saying is, if there was a truth to it, if there was one God, an actual God, if there was one right religion, you wouldn't have hundreds of millions of people believing in a different religion. Mm-hmm. And what's funny about that is, all the time that Christians, Protestant Christians, whether they're Baptists or Pentecostals or whatever, they all want to say that the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Catholics, they're not true Christians. The Catholics aren't Christians at all. Catholics are just Mary worshipping pagans. But if that were the case, Catholicism accounts for just slightly over half of all the Christian collective. So, if Catholicism is not Christianity, then that would mean only the Protestant sects are, right? You excluding Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, but even if you include Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses still, if Catholics aren't Christian, then that means that Christianity is the fourth largest religion in the world. Islam is already the dominant religion on earth. And the second largest religion would be Hinduism, with 800 million people believing in that. So if popularity accounts for anything, what the fuck? And then the third largest religion would be Catholicism, and then Christianity, and then Sikhism.
Yeah, because you'd have to separate Catholicism from the other Christianities, and then you got to divide down from there.
I'm talking about Christianity as a collective. If you put if you put the Baptists and the Pentecosts and the Lutherans and even the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses, put them all in one lump, right? And then they'll all say that Mormons aren't really Christian. They're just the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. What the hell makes them not Christian, right? You don't have to be Trinitarian to be Christian. Mormons are binitarian. There were also Unitarians. If you can accept that George Washington was a Unitarian, or maybe not Washington, but just the first 5 presidents, you had a couple of deists in there that on their logbooks they're listed as Unitarian Christians. And you can accept that the Founding Fathers were Unitarians, then you can accept binitarians too. You don't have to be a Trinitarian. There's just a huge amount of hypocrisy there. And that's why you have, famously we had, like last week, we had that woman who voted for Pete Buttigieg and then found out he was gay and then wanted to take her vote back, right? I don't know if you saw this, was beautiful. So this woman saying, well, I'm Christian and I can't vote for a gay man. And this other woman says, well, I'm Christian too and I work for this gay man who is also Christian. So, and then they're both saying to each other that you don't believe.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
To be fair, one of them says that I think we're just interpreting this differently. So that was a much better way of presenting that. But imagine getting famous for something like that. You're in Iowa, you would never be famous for anything else ever. Because suddenly you're on national news and Stephen Colbert and on all kinds of parody sites and all of this because you said this thing, this stupid thing for which you will remember for the rest of your life.
Dude, that's interesting. I saw a video recently. It was put out years ago, and it was pretty much why people believe in gods. And he went into a naturalist, evolutionist explanation. Brilliant man. I want to try and interview him if it's possible. I don't know if it will be, but Stephen Hawkins, I believe, and others inspired him. But he was doing it for Richard Dawkins.
Who's this guy?
That's a great question because it's, and you, I'm sure, have seen it for sure. If you haven't seen this, no, I know for a fact you've probably seen this because it was so brilliant. He went into everything, the evolutionary mechanism as to why back in prehistory, and showed why humans would invoke something like this and how it's actually normal that we fill in the gaps. We don't understand something, so we put things there. And, each culture has done something different, whether it was the elves or angels or, God, or some evolved form of explaining the unexplainable to them from their perception. And as we've developed, I had one guy tell me, he says, as science develops, we'll start to really grasp things and it'll make sense of them, kind of like I've heard Yahweh was a volcanic deity at one point. Okay, I don't know how true. I've heard some arguments.
There are people that are interested in this can just look up the phrase in Google.